Happy fall, SPA colleagues. Happy almost Thanksgiving. I hope everybody is doing well. And let's get started here. My video today is going to be about offering exam retakes to your students. This is something that I started doing about 3 years ago, but it was something I was also very against prior to that. So I'm going to try and convince you why it's a good thing and how I go about doing it. So some arguments for offering exam retakes. The first would be the driving test analogy. Let's say you were to go and take a driving test to get your license and you failed that driving test. Does that mean that you, for the rest of your life, will not be allowed to drive a car? And of course that sounds ridiculous. Of course you should be able to go home, study, practice, go back and try and take the test again until you do pass. And I think the same should be applied in our core subject areas. Grade motivation, I think many students are grade motivated, and if you can use that the motivation that they have to get them to learn more, I think you should take advantage of that. Another argument would be students have unequal learning speeds. Not everybody is ready to take the test at the same time. There's many arguments against offering exam retakes that I've heard, and the first is that it's not college prep. In college they don't let you take exam retakes, so why should I? That's not helping my students be ready for college. I thought that my first year or two as a teacher, and I find that many new teachers think this. And the reason why, I think, is because new teachers just came from college, and so they think that everything they do in their classroom should mimic what happens in a college classroom. And I think that there's many flaws in that argument. Another argument is that students won't take the test seriously. I haven't encountered that. Common argument is a retake will only show memorization and not mastery. I'll show you how I design my retakes and to avoid this issue. And it's too much work for the teacher to create and give retakes, and it is a little bit of extra work. It takes me about an hour to make a test retake, and then an additional hour to proctor it while the students are taking the retake after school. But I think this is time well spent, or else I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't put that extra time in. So let me show you what my retakes look like. So on the left is the original exam, and on the right is the retake. You can see they're both 30 questions, and if you'll notice, question 1 is actually identical, and so sometimes the retake has a question that is unchanged from the original exam. I'd say there's 3 things that I do when I make a retake. I leave some questions. Some questions, like number 4, is about work. On both tests, they're both about work, but it's a new problem. So the second thing I'll do here is I'll replace the problem with a new one. The third thing I'll do, an example is number 5, is it looks like the same problem, but I've changed the numbers from 4 meters to 10 meters, so the answers change as well. So usually these are the 3 things I do. I keep some problems, I change some problems to new ones completely, and I alter some questions by altering the numbers or the words in the question. And I think doing these 3 things makes the retake similar rigor, and I think it makes it a fair retake. I don't think you can do very well on this just by memorizing from the original exam. You still have to know your physics. Now, not everybody can take a retake. I felt, my school that I went to as my 3rd year teaching, they had a retake philosophy. And it took me a little while to get on board because I didn't feel that every single person deserved to do a retake, because let's face it, some students don't put in very much effort. They don't study for the first test, they don't do their homework, and as much as we try to get them to do all those things, I don't think that those students deserve to do a retake. And so what I decided to do is create a retake contract that basically allowed students who were putting in a good effort to do a retake. So here's what the contract looks like. The students have to do test corrections on the original test, and I have a separate document for test corrections. So basically what they have to do is explain what their mistake was and explain how to get the answer right. So they do that for every question they missed. That's the first criteria on the retake contract. The second criteria is that students have to have evidence that they've done all their homework in that unit. So this was a Unit 3 exam. They would have had to do the, usually about 6 to 8 homework assignments with a grade of at least 80% on those assignments. Now they can show me just by, if there were 8 homework assignments, they can show me all 8 with the grades on each one. Or they can print their progress report from our online grading system, PowerSchool, and highlight the homeworks. Now, if the student didn't do some of the homeworks, or let's say they didn't get a B on some of the homeworks, that's okay. That doesn't disqualify them from retaking. What they have to do is complete those homeworks and redo any of the ones below an 80%. So, they're developing some good habits, they're going back and fixing mistakes, and they're doing the homeworks they missed the first time around. And similar to the homeworks, they have to present evidence that they've completed all the labs in the unit with at least an 80%. And any labs they didn't do, they can still do them, and any labs below an 80%, they can rewrite them. They generally have 1 week to get all of this done. So to do their test corrections, fix any homeworks, and fix any labs, they have 1 week, and the retake, again, is about 1 week after the original test. I feel like 1 week is a good amount of time where the information is still fresh, and it also gives them enough time if they have multiple homeworks to redo. These are some other details I've had to develop to make this process run smoothly. When students are ready for me to sign off on their contract, they come see me at lunch or after school, not during class time. The higher of the 2 scores will be counted, so there's no risk to do a retake. It will never lower your score on the exam. It can only improve it. And I only offer 1 retake day and time. And if you're not in the room when it starts, you don't get to do the retake. And this is really the sustainability rule for me. I can't offer retakes multiple days after school, 1 day, 1 hour, and and if a student has a basketball game, they have to make a choice. Do they want to do their physics retake, or do they want to play in the game? And it's up to them. But I don't break this rule. I only offer 1 retake day and time, regardless of the situation. Even if it's an emergency, I just tell them, we have about 8 exams this year. If you can't retake this one, there's 7 others that you can still retake. And on the back is just a place for them to list the homeworks and the labs and the unit. So this is my retake policy. I hope you find it useful, or maybe just gives you some ideas to create or alter one of your own. So I'll end by saying that the one area for growth on this policy is it doesn't seem to get the students who have very low failing grades motivated. I find that this motivates a lot of my B and C students, or even my A students who got a B on an exam. They'll come in and retake it. Maybe a kid who has a percent or two, maybe he has a 68 or 69 and is trying to get a 70. Those students will come do the retakes, but very rarely do I have students who with 50s or lower who will retake their exams, and they're really the ones who need to do this. But I don't know if it's the contract or the idea of the retake being after school for an hour. But that would be the one area for improvement, is how do you get the really low flyers to be interested in this. Anyway, thanks for listening. Hope this was helpful, and I look forward to speaking to you all. Bye.